The silent sky the night over Erebus 9 was calm, cold, and endless. Stars shimmered faintly in the black sea of space, their light slow and gentle, unaware of what was coming. The colony below was peaceful, filled with laughter and lights from small homes built across the rocky plains. Children played under the glass domes, chasing the glowing insects that drifted through the air. For them, this was just another quiet night. But for Commander Reyna Holt, it was the beginning of something the galaxy would never forget. She stood on the command bridge of the Titan-class warship Horizon's Edge, her eyes fixed on the holographic display before her. The sensors had picked up something strange near the outer rim, a movement too organized, too deliberate. Her first officer, Captain Dre, leaned closer and whispered, "Ma'am, we have confirmed contact. It's not human." Holt didn't flinch, her voice steady. "Show me." The screen shifted, showing hundreds of red markers appearing one by one. An entire armada of alien ships was heading straight toward Erebus 9, the Zorth Dominion, reptilian, conquerors who believed humanity was weak and unworthy of space. They had destroyed planets before, worlds that couldn't defend themselves. Now they were coming for a human colony protected by nothing more than orbital satellites and outdated defense drones. Commander Holt clenched her jaw. The colony below had families, engineers and farmers, not soldiers. "Send a warning to Erebus Command," she said. "Tell them to evacuate the civilians immediately." Dre nodded and began the transmission, his voice trembling slightly. They both knew it was useless. The aliens would arrive long before anyone could escape. On Erebus 9, alarms echoed through the sky. People ran through the streets as emergency lights flashed red. Mothers clutched their children, and men carried boxes of supplies toward the bunkers. The local governor, old and desperate, shouted through the comms, "To any human fleet out there, this is Erebus 9, we are under attack. Please anyone, to help us." The message was sent into the dark, a cry of fear and hope mixed together. Millions of kilometers away, deep beyond Neptune's orbit, the human defense fleet received the signal. Inside the war room, silent officers stared at the recording as the colony's voice filled the chamber. Commander Holt's face appeared on the screen, calm yet burning with fury. "They came for our people," she said quietly. "They will regret it." Around her, the vast hangars of the human fleet came alive. Engines roared to life. Plasma cores glowed blue, and robotic loaders moved across the decks preparing ammunition. The fleet was not large, but each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, born from pain, loss, and endless war. They had waited for this moment, the moment when the galaxy would finally learn what humanity had become. "Signal all ships," Holt ordered, her voice echoing through the comm channels. "This is Commander Holt of the Horizon's Edge. Our people are under attack. We are moving to intercept. Prepare for warp." Her officers looked at her, knowing this meant war. Real war. Yet none hesitated because every human there remembered what it felt like to lose someone to alien cruelty. Now it was time to answer. In the silence of deep space, the fleet aligned. One by one, massive warships took position, their hulls reflecting the light of distant stars. Inside, pilots checked their systems, soldiers strapped into battle chairs, and AI cores hummed softly as they connected to the command network. Then, with a thunderous hum that only the stars could hear, space itself began to twist. Waves of light folded around the fleet as they entered faster than light travel. Back on Erebus 9, the alien fleet had already appeared in orbit. Dark metal ships, shaped like claws, surrounded the planet. From one of the largest vessels, a transmission played across the open frequencies. "This world belongs to the Zorth Dominion," a deep reptilian voice growled. "Your kind will kneel or burn." On the ground, the colonists watched helplessly as energy blasts tore through their defense towers. The night sky turned red with fire and debris. But then, just as the enemy prepared their final strike, the sky flickered. It started as a whisper, a low vibration that made the air tremble. And then a burst of blue light split the darkness. Dozens of massive shapes emerged from the void. The human Warfleet, their engines burned brighter than suns. For a moment, the alien fleet froze, unable to believe what they were seeing. Commander Holt's voice came through every open frequency, clear and calm. "This is humanity's response fleet," she said. "You are ordered to stand down and retreat immediately." No answer came, only static. The Zorth ships began to charge their weapons. Holt took a deep breath and whispered to herself, "They never learn." She raised her hand toward the forward display. "Lock targets," she said, "and prepare to fire." Outside, the horizon's edge glowed like a blue sun, and as the first shot was fired, the darkness of the silent sky was replaced by the fury of humanity. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy would remember what it meant to make humans bleed. The gathering storm. The alien fleet hung in the darkness like a swarm of hungry shadows. Each Zorth warship gleamed with sharp metal armor, their red eyes burning against the void. They had crushed a dozen worlds before, and now they thought Erebus 9 would fall just as easily. But something about the silence after their arrival felt wrong. Their sensors twitched, their scanners glitched, and the stars around them seemed to flicker like dying candles. Admiral Karen of the Zorth Dominion stood tall on his bridge, his scaled hands gripping the cold rail. He looked at the human colony below and sneered. "Pitiful mammals," he hissed. "Always building homes where they do not belong." His second officer nodded. "They will make fine slaves, my lord." Karen's fangs flashed. "No slaves," he said, "only ash." The alien fleet charged its plasma cannons ready to strike, but then a signal appeared. Faint, unregistered, moving fast. A comm officer shouted, "Contact! Multiple warp signatures! Unknown origin!" Karen laughed. "Perhaps reinforcements? It will make the hunt more fun." His laughter stopped when the light appeared. It wasn't a ship. It was thousands of them. Space itself rippled as humanity's Warfleet exited warp, each vessel a floating fortress of fire and thunder. The horizon filled with blue light, and for a heartbeat even the stars went quiet. The humans didn't speak, didn't announce themselves. They simply appeared, surrounding the alien armada from every side. Commander Holt stood at the center of it all. Aboard the horizon's edge, her eyes locked on the enemy formation, her voice calm as ice. "Fleet status. All ships ready, Commander." Her AI, Astra, replied. "Targets confirmed. Fire authorization pending." Holt's hand hovered above the console. "Hold fire," she said. "Let them see us first." Across the alien ships, chaos spread. Communications broke, navigation jammed. Even the Dominion's strongest battleships began to drift in confusion. Human stealth tech, perfected in silence, was now their greatest weapon. For decades, the galaxy had ignored humanity. Now they would witness what it had become. Inside the horizon's edge, young Officer Mira glanced at her screen, eyes wide. "Ma'am, they're trying to communicate." Holt nodded. "Patch it through." The alien admiral's face filled the screen, his scaled lips curling in arrogance. "You dare challenge the Zorth Dominion?" Karen growled. "Your kind crawled from the dirt not a century ago." Holt didn't answer. She simply looked at him, her silence louder than any threat. He smirked. "We will burn your colonies and hang your flag on our walls." "Understood," Holt said softly. "Then this is your choice." The connection ended, her tone cold as steel. "Fleet, prepare for engagement." Astra's voice echoed through every human ship, calm, mathematical, unstoppable. Targeting solutions locked, firing arcs synchronized. In the darkness, the massive guns of humanity's fleet turned as one, blue fire gathering in their barrels. Below, the people of Erebus 9 watched through the clouds as lines of light stretched across the heavens. Children pressed their hands to glass domes, staring up at the miracle above them. To them, it looked like the stars themselves were forming new constellations. The constellation of Vengeance, the alien fleet opened fire first, red plasma surging through space like rivers of molten blood. But the human shields absorbed the impact, scattering the light like diamonds. "Return fire," Holt whispered. In that moment, hundreds of cannons roared. Blue lances of energy pierced through the void, faster than thought, brighter than fear. Alien ships exploded one after another, silent, beautiful, final. No screams reached space, only bursts of light that vanished into the dark. Admiral Karen stumbled as his ship trembled, alarm screaming across the bridge. "How?" he roared. "They shouldn't have this power." But it was too late. A single beam from the horizon's edge cut through his flagship like it was made of glass. In seconds, the command vessel was gone, erased without a trace. Within minutes, the great Zorth Armada was no more. The once mighty fleet had turned to drifting debris. Commander Holt stood silent, her reflection glowing in the light of burning wrecks. Her officers cheered, but she didn't smile. "Something's wrong," she said quietly. Dre turned, confused. "We just saved Erebus 9, Commander." Holt nodded slowly. "Yes, but someone wanted us to show our power." The words hung in the air like a storm waiting to break, because deep down she knew this battle was only the beginning. Somewhere far beyond the wreckage, others were watching, recording, planning. The galaxy had just witnessed humanity's strength, and now they would start preparing for its downfall. The war wasn't over. It had only begun. The arrival, the sky above Erebus 9 still burned with the ghosts of battle. Fragments of destroyed alien ships drifted like black snow, falling silently through the atmosphere. The people on the surface stared upward, some crying, some whispering prayers. They had seen death coming, and salvation arriving in the same breath. The horizon glowed blue with the light of humanity's warships. Enormous shadows cutting across the clouds. Commander Reyna Holt stood motionless on the bridge of the horizon's edge. Her reflection shimmered on the glass as the planet below rotated beneath her fleet. She could see the damage, the burning cities, the broken domes, the survivors waving toward the sky. For the first time in years, humans on a colony world didn't feel abandoned. They felt protected. Holt's voice was soft. "Tell Erebus 9 we have secured orbit. The enemy is gone." Her communications officer nodded and sent the transmission, but Astra, the ship's AI, spoke quietly through the speakers. "Commander, scans show strange activity near the outer debris field." Holt frowned. "Explain." "Residual energy signatures," Astra continued. "Not from the Zorth fleet, unknown pattern." Holt turned toward the tactical screen. Her heartbeat steady but heavy. Dre, her first officer, leaned closer. "You think someone else was here?" Holt nodded slowly. "Someone watched this battle. Outside, the horizon's edge drifted silently through the wreckage. Burned alien hulls floated past like grave markers, and then, just beyond the ruins, a flicker of silver light appeared, faint but real. A cloaked probe, transmitting data before vanishing into hyperspace. Holt's eyes hardened. "Trace that signal," Astra replied. "Impossible. It was directed beyond our reach, likely toward Galactic Council space." The bridge fell silent, everyone understanding what that meant. On the colony below, relief had turned to confusion. Reporters and scientists gathered near the landing zones as smaller human ships descended to deliver aid. Civilians cheered, waving flags, shouting, "Human fleet," and "We're saved." But in the midst of joy, Holt's face appeared on a large screen in the command center. Her tone was calm but serious. "Erebus 9 is safe, but this was no random attack." The words echoed through the colony. "This was a message," she said, "and not from the aliens, one from someone far more dangerous. In orbit, cleanup teams began collecting the remains of Zorth technology. Engineers discovered strange modifications inside the enemy's command ships, designs that did not belong to the Zorth. Circuits, alloys, and encryption patterns matched Council technology. One technician whispered, "They had help." Holt listened to the report, her expression unreadable. "Send everything to the secure archive," she ordered. No transmissions, no leaks later. In her private quarters, Holt stood before the massive viewport. Erebus 9 shined below like a fragile blue jewel. She took a deep breath and whispered, "They wanted us to be seen." Her AI responded softly, "Commander, would you like to notify Earth Command?" Holt shook her head. "Not yet if the Council's behind this. We can't trust open channels." Meanwhile, across the galaxy in the grand halls of the Galactic Council, whispers filled the air. Representatives from dozens of alien races watched a hologram replay of the battle. The destruction was terrifying. The human fleet's firepower unmatched, one delegate muttered. "They wiped out the Dominion fleet in under 6 minutes," another hissed. "They've become too strong." And then a third voice, Cold and precise, spoke from the shadows. Exactly as planned, back aboard the horizon's edge. The crew was exhausted but alert. Dre approached Holt cautiously. "Ma'am, the colonists are requesting to speak to you directly." Holt nodded. "Put them through." A large screen lit up, showing faces of survivors, men, women, and children. Their leader, Governor Hale, spoke with trembling gratitude. "Commander Holt, humanity owes you everything." She gave a faint smile. "You owe me nothing, Governor. Just rebuild and be ready. Because this won't be the last attack." His smile faded. "You think they'll come back?" Her eyes darkened. "No, but someone else will send them." The fleet remained in orbit for several more days, providing aid and protection, but every night, Holt found herself staring into the stars. Her instincts whispered that something far bigger was moving behind the scenes. A storm not of weapons, but of politics, fear, and control. She had seen enough wars to recognize when someone wanted to provoke one. In the distance, one of her recon ships returned from deep space patrol. The pilot's voice came through the comms. Shaky but urgent. "Commander, we found something," he said. A signal beacon hidden near the nebula, transmitting in council code. Holt's heart sank. "Download everything and destroy the beacon," she ordered. The pilot obeyed, and as the beacon exploded, the last transmission whispered into the void. Phase 1 complete. Humanity has shown its strength. The bridge crew exchanged uneasy looks, Dre whispered. "Phase 1? What does that mean?" Holt didn't answer. She just stared into the darkness. Somewhere out there, unseen hands were moving pieces on a galactic board, and humanity had just made its first terrifying move. The hidden hand. The galaxy had gone silent after Erebus 9. For the first time in decades, no pirate, no alien warlord, no Dominion ship dared to cross into human space. The stars felt quieter, colder, as if even the universe itself was holding its breath. But in the shadows of that silence, something else began to move. Commander Reyna Holt sat inside the War Council chamber aboard the horizon's edge. Her officers filled the room, tired faces lit by holographic screens showing fragments of intercepted transmissions. Astra, the ship's AI, projected the recordings in mid-air. Voices from the Galactic Council whispered in coded phrases, "Human firepower." "Beyond expectation," one voice said. "Proceed to containment phase," another replied. The room fell quiet. Only the hum of the ship filled the air. Dre clenched his fists. "They set us up," he said, his voice low with anger. "They used the Zorth Dominion to provoke us." Holt didn't reply. She simply stared at the glowing council crest in the center of the projection. Her eyes cold, sharp and focused. After a long silence, she spoke. "They wanted us to show our hand. Now they know our strength." The revelation hit the crew like a wave. Humanity had fought for survival, believing it was defending the innocent. But someone, somewhere in the high towers of the Galactic Council, had planned the entire thing. A test disguised as an invasion. To measure the limits of human power later in her quarters, Holt replayed the intercepted message again and again. Each time her expression grew darker. One phrase kept repeating, coded but clear. "Phase 2 to begin. Authorization by Council Prime," she whispered to Astra. "Can we trace the signal?" "Negative," the AI replied. The encryption was routed through over 300 relay nodes. Holt sighed. "Then we'll find them another way." She turned toward the window, where the curve of Erebus 9 shone beneath the ship. The colony was recovering, rebuilding unaware of the storm forming above their skies. Holt's reflection looked back at her like a ghost. Her voice a whisper. "We fought to protect them, and now they'll use that as proof we're dangerous." Meanwhile, on the Galactic Council world of Althera Prime, a secret meeting took place beneath the Grand Assembly Hall. 12 figures stood around a circular table made of obsidian glass, their faces hidden in shadows, their insignias faintly glowing at the center. Council Prime Arvel raised his clawed hand. "The humans have revealed their fleet," he said. "And it is far worse than our projections," one delegate hissed. "Their weapons broke Dominion armor like paper," another added. "They can no longer be trusted. We must act before they act again," Arvel nodded slowly. "Agreed. The galaxy cannot be ruled by fear of one species." He turned toward the hologram floating in the center of the table. A glowing image of Commander Holt appeared. Her cold eyes and human determination seemed almost alive. Arvel's voice dropped. "Find her weakness. She leads the fleet. Remove her and the humans will crumble." The others nodded, their symbols fading into darkness. Back aboard the horizon's edge, Holt was meeting with her tactical officers. Council fleets have started to move near our border systems, Dre reported. They claim it's for security patrols. Holt smiled faintly. Security from what? We're the reason their colonies still exist. Her voice hardened. They're preparing for war, Astra interrupted. Incoming transmission. Priority channel from Earth Command, or patch it through, Holt said. The screen flickered, revealing the face of Admiral Carter, an old veteran with steel-gray eyes. Reyna, we've seen the same data you have, he said. It's worse than we thought. Holt straightened. They're mobilizing. Yes, Carter replied. Multiple council factions are joining under something called the Unity Pact, an alliance supposedly for peace. Holt's jaw tightened. Peace through containment. Exactly, he said. They're preparing to surround human territories under the guise of diplomacy. Carter's voice lowered. You'll need to move fast, Reyna. We can't afford another surprise. After the transmission ended, Holt turned toward her crew. Her tone was calm, but her eyes were burning. Set course for Althera Prime, she said. If they want to talk about peace, we'll bring it to their doorstep. Dre hesitated. Commander, that's the Council's homeworld. I know, she replied. That's why they'll listen. Hours later, the human fleet began to move again, hundreds of warships aligning across the void, engines flaring blue. They weren't heading to war this time, not yet, but to deliver a message. The galaxy would see that humanity didn't bow, didn't hide, didn't wait for permission to exist. As the fleet entered warp, Holt stood alone on the observation deck. The stars stretched into ribbons of light around her. She whispered quietly to herself, You wanted to see our power. Her reflection flickered in the glass, eyes cold as steel. Now, she said, you'll see our resolve. The judgment of stars. The stars around Althera Prime shimmered like cold witnesses. From every corner of the galaxy, fleets had gathered, bright, massive, and proud. Dozens of alien empires had sent their warships to stand guard around the Council's capital world. It was a wall of light and steel, meant to show unity, meant to show strength. But to Commander Reyna Holt, watching from the bridge of the horizon's edge, it looked like a cage. Her fleet dropped out of warp just beyond the outer defense ring. Hundreds of human warships emerged behind her, each one glowing like a blue star against the black. The sight was enough to make even the Council's admirals hesitate, Dre spoke softly. They've surrounded the planet with nearly 2,000 ships. Holt's gaze never wavered. Then they'll hear us loud and clear. Across the council chambers, alarms began to ring. Delegates rushed to the main assembly balcony as the human fleet appeared on the horizon. One alien shouted, "They've come to invade!" Another screamed, "They'll destroy us all!" Council Prime Arvel slammed his clawed hand on the table, his voice echoing, "Silence! Let them speak first, outside." The horizon's edge opened a wideband communication link. Every screen, every frequency, every receiver in orbit lit up with the face of Commander Holt. Her voice was calm, low and steady. "This is Commander Reyna Holt of the human fleet," she said. "We are not here to conquer, we are here to be heard." Behind her, the stars burned with silent fire. "In the last cycle," she continued, "you sent assassins through diplomacy, armies through proxies, and lies through treaties. You called us dangerous, reckless, unfit for peace." Her eyes narrowed. "But we never started your wars. We only survived them." The council chamber was silent. Even Arvel lowered his gaze, unsure whether to speak or listen. "Your Dominion puppets attacked our colony," Holt said. "You called it an incident." She leaned forward, her voice growing colder. "You wanted to test how far we would go. Now you know." A wave of tension filled the room. Delegates whispered, their faces pale under the flickering lights. Some of them had supported the plan, but none had expected humanity's answer to be this absolute. On the bridge, Dre looked at her carefully. "Ma'am, all weapons are armed. Do we stand by?" Holt nodded. "Hold fire, but make sure they can see what would happen if we didn't." The ship's main cannons hummed softly, charging but not releasing across the sky. Blue light rippled through the fleet like a heartbeat. Every ship turned its weapons outward, not firing, only showing what humanity now commanded in the council chamber. Arvel's voice finally broke the silence. "You speak of peace, Commander Holt. Yet you bring an army to our home," Holt replied. "Because words alone never kept the peace, Admiral. Only balance did. Her voice softened but carried iron. You fear our strength because you've never understood our pain. We don't seek war, she said. But if you bring it to our people again, you will see what mercy looks like when it runs out. Astra's digital voice spoke quietly in her ear. Commander, transmission requests coming from over 20 council fleets. Holt shook her head. Ignore them, they've heard enough. She turned toward the open space between her ships and the planet. Her reflection in the glass was pale, tired but unbreakable. Prepare the demonstration, she said. The horizon's edge moved forward slowly, purposefully, its massive cannon aimed at a nearby moon orbiting Althera Prime. Dre hesitated. Commander, that's a neutral body. I know, Holt said softly. That's why we'll only split it. With a silent flash, the beam fired. No explosion, no chaos, only a line of blue light cutting through the darkness. Seconds later, the moon cracked open like glass, dividing into two perfect halves that drifted apart silently. Every fleet, every council member, every citizen watching from the planet below went still. There was no more debate, no more arrogance, only awe and fear. Holt's voice echoed across every channel. We came in peace once, she said quietly, and you called us naive. We came again in war and you called us monsters. So now, we come as what we are, human. She turned off the transmission and for a long time, no one in the galaxy dared to speak back on the bridge. Her crew stared at the fading light of the shattered moon. Dre whispered, What now, Commander? Holt looked at him and said, Now we wait. They'll either come to talk or come to die. Her gaze lifted to the stars. For the first time, the galaxy wasn't looking down on humanity. It was looking up, afraid to blink. The echo of fear silence returned to the galaxy, but it was not the silence of peace. It was the silence of fear, of realization, of respect after the demonstration at Althera Prime. No fleet moved, no council spoke, no world dared to act. Every signal, every transmission in the known systems carried one phrase. Do not provoke humanity. In the days that followed, the human fleet remained in orbit near the council world. They did not fire again. They did not threaten, they simply watched. Their presence alone was enough to keep the galaxy frozen, and deep in the heart of that silence, something new began, understanding for the first time. The other species began to see humanity not as newcomers but as equals. Commander Reyna Holt stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge. Her eyes were tired but clear, her voice calm. Status report, she said. Dre replied softly. Council fleets are withdrawing. No aggression detected. Good, Holt said. Let them remember what they saw, Astra. The AI projected news reports across the room. Images of human ships filling alien broadcasts. Voices trembling as they spoke of the Blue Armada. Holt's reflection flickered across the screens, becoming a symbol. Part savior. Part warning back on Erebus 9 the colony was rebuilding. Children ran through streets once filled with smoke, now filled with life. New banners hung above the domes, blue and silver, showing a single star, humanity's new emblem of unity. Governor Hale spoke to the people from the main square. Never again will we be left alone, he said. Never again will we bow, the crowd cheered. But even in their joy, there was quiet awe. They knew the truth, that their safety had been bought by fire. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, whispers grew louder. Pirate clans vanished into hiding. Dominion remnants begged for peace. Even the Council's secret factions began to fracture. Afraid of being discovered, Arvel, the Council Prime, sat alone in his chamber, his trembling claws clutching a datapad showing Holt's face. She could have destroyed us, he whispered. But she didn't. He looked toward the stars outside his window, and for the first time the great ruler of 1,000 worlds felt small. On board the horizon's edge, Holt watched the reports fade. Dre approached quietly. Commander, Earth Command wants you to return home. The fleet's work is done, she nodded slowly. Is it, though? He frowned. You think they'll try again? Her gaze turned distant. No, not soon, but power always attracts fear. And fear always breeds action. She looked out at the endless black. They won't fight us with ships next time. They'll try words. Lies and treaties. Astra's voice filled the room gently. Commander, may I ask a question? Holt smiled faintly. Go ahead. Do you regret showing them what we are capable of? Her expression softened, her eyes reflecting the stars. No, she said. They needed to remember who we are, not monsters, not gods. Just humans who refuse to kneel. The fleet began its journey home, engines humming softly as they moved through the endless dark. But the echoes of their presence lingered behind, in every world, in every shadow, in every whisper. Children across alien worlds told stories at night about the blue fire that split the sky. Pilots spoke of seeing a light in the dark that wasn't a star but a warning. If you see the blue light, they said, it's already too late. Months later, Erebus 9 stood as the symbol of humanity's strength. Rebuilt, protected, thriving under the silent watch of orbital sentinels. One evening, as the twin suns set over the colony plains, a young girl placed a flower near the base of a memorial stone. Her small voice whispered, "Thank you, Commander Holt." And though Holt was far away, deep among the stars, she felt the words echo through her heart in her cabin. She looked out at the endless field of stars, each one glowing softly like a heartbeat in the dark. She raised her hand to the glass and spoke to no one in particular. "They wanted to test us," she said quietly. "Now they know. We are the test." The stars shimmered back at her, silent witnesses to the truth. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The reckoning of Shadows months had passed since the Blue Armada shattered the silence of the galaxy. Humanity's name was now spoken with awe and fear. No empire dared to threaten them. No fleet crossed their borders. But power, Holt knew, always drew shadows. The horizon's edge floated in the black between stars, silent and steady. Commander Raina Holt stood alone on the observation deck, her reflection ghosted by the faint light of distant suns. She had expected peace to feel calm, but it felt heavy, almost hollow. Every victory left an echo, and every echo had consequences. Astra's soft voice filled the air. "Commander, we've received an encrypted signal," Holt frowned. "Origin? Unknown," the AI replied. "But the frequency matches the probe we destroyed near Erebus 9. Her pulse quickened. "Put it through." The hologram flickered to life. Static at first, then a voice distorted and cold. "Commander Holt," it said, "you've proven your species' strength. Now prove its control." The signal ended as suddenly as it began. Holt stared at the empty projection, her jaw tightening. Someone was still watching them. Someone powerful. Dre entered the bridge. Was that real? He asked. Holt nodded. Too real. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. They had won a war, but now they were standing at the edge of something far greater. A hidden conflict buried within the very heart of the galaxy. Holt turned to Astra. "Trace the signal again." "Already done," the AI replied. "It leads to a dead sector. Abandoned space, no colonies, no stations. Or so they want us to believe," Holt said quietly. "Set a course." As the fleet prepared to move, the stars around them shifted into streaks of light. The silence of deep space swallowed everything. After hours of travel, they reached a region no map had marked. It was a graveyard, thousands of dead ships, ancient and broken, floating like skeletons through the void. Dre whispered, "What is this place?" Astra's tone grew strange. "Commander, these vessels predate recorded history, predate humanity," Holt muttered. Among the wrecks, a massive structure came into view. A ring of dark metal rotating slowly, its surface pulsing with faint blue energy. At its center was an inscription, written in no known language. Yet the words burned into her mind. "The first war never ended." The crew fell silent. Holt's voice barely a whisper. "This isn't a graveyard. It's a warning." Suddenly, the ship's alarms blared. Astra shouted, "Energy surge detected. Multiple power signatures reactivating." The ancient ships began to move, glowing with the same eerie light. Dre's eyes widened. "They're not dead, Commander. They're waking up." Outside, the stars seemed to tremble as engines that hadn't burned in millennia came alive again. Holt steadied herself. "Form defensive positions. All ships on standby," but Astra interrupted. "Commander, they're not targeting us. They're transmitting." "Transmitting to who?" Holt asked. "To everywhere," the AI replied. "Every system in the galaxy just received the same message." "What message?" Holt demanded. Astra hesitated, then repeated it aloud. "The old master's return. The balance has been broken." The words echoed across every channel. Across every world, council planets, Dominion ruins, even human colonies received it. Within hours, chaos erupted. Fleets scrambled. Leaders panicked. The fragile peace shattered like glass. Holt's voice cut through the noise. "Astra, analyze that energy. Who built this?" The AI paused, then said softly, "Commander, these signatures don't match any galactic race." Dre frowned. "Then who?" Astra finished the thought. "They match the ruins found beneath Earth's oceans long before the first expansion." Holt's eyes widened. "You're saying—" "Yes," Astra said. "This technology is human." The bridge went silent. No one spoke for a long time if it was true. Then humanity hadn't just been underestimated by the galaxy. It had forgotten something about itself. Something ancient, something powerful, something buried. Holt took a slow breath. "So this is what they feared," she whispered. "Not what we might become, but what we once were." The crew stared at her, unsure if they were witnessing discovery or doom. "Commander," Dre asked quietly, "what do we do now?" Holt turned toward the stars, her eyes reflecting their cold fire. "We find the truth," she said, "before someone else uses it first." Outside, the horizon's edge began to rise above the graveyard, its blue engines cutting through the black, leaving a trail of light behind. And as it disappeared into the void, the ancient ships continued to glow, their silent code spreading like whispers through the galaxy. On distant worlds, strange signals began to awaken. Deep beneath alien cities, hidden vaults started to hum, and across the stars, every race looked toward the blue light that had once brought judgment. Now it was bringing something else, remembrance. The legend of humanity was no longer about power, or war or vengeance. It was about origin, about destiny. The galaxy had feared the human fleet, but soon it would learn to fear something far older, far deeper, and the truth of where humanity came from.